Under the golden warmth of the African sun, the village of Isiama buzzed with anticipation. It had been 5 years since Princess Amara had seen Prince Kwame, 5 years since they had made a youthful pledge beneath the ancient baobab tree where they first met. Today he was returning not just as the boy she fell in love with, but as the man she was promised to marry. Amara had spent those years preparing to be the queen her people needed. Educated by the wisest elders, skilled in the art of diplomacy, and versed in the traditions that kept her culture alive, she was ready. Yet, as the day of Kwame's return drew nearer, a fluttering nervousness took root in her heart. She wondered if the years had changed him, if the handsome prince in her memories would match the man who would come back to claim her hand. As drums throbbed and people gathered, the air tingled with the sweet aroma of fried plantains and spicy jollof rice, prepared in honor of the prince's arrival. Children adorned in colorful beads danced around, their laughter mingling with the melodies of flutes and choras. The moment the royal convoy appeared, a cheer erupted from the crowd. Amara's heart leaped. Mounted on a magnificent stallion, Kwame rode at the front, his posture regal, his face more mature but still radiant with the smile she remembered so well. Dismounting with the grace of a leopard, he made his way toward her, his eyes locked onto hers. "My Amara, you have blossomed into the very soul of Isiama," Kwame said, his voice a soothing balm to her anxious heart. "And you have grown into the king our people deserve," she replied, her voice steady though her hands trembled slightly. The reunion was everything the villagers had hoped for. The evening was filled with storytelling, where elders spoke of the ancestors and the journeys that shaped their lands. Amidst it all, Amara felt a profound connection with Kwame, as if no time had passed. Yet occasionally, she caught a shadow crossing his face, a flicker of something hidden when their eyes met. As the moon climbed, the celebration continued, but Amara pulled Kwame aside for a walk beneath the starlit sky. They strolled towards the baobab tree, their steps unhurried. "Kwame, is everything all right? Today I sometimes felt a distance in your gaze," Amara ventured, her voice low. Kwame looked away, his silhouette etched against the moonlight. "Amara, there is much I need to share with you, things I discovered during my travels, about myself, about the throne." Her heart sank. "What is it? You can tell me anything." He took a deep breath. "It's a secret that could change everything, not just for us, but for the entire kingdom." The night air seemed to still, waiting for his words. Amara felt the weight of the impending revelation. Whatever it was, she knew their lives would never be the same again. "Amara, But before he could continue, a sudden commotion erupted at the edge of the village. Screams pierced the night, followed by the urgent beating of drums. Something was terribly wrong. "We must go back," Kwame said, his voice tense as he grabbed her hand, pulling her back towards the chaos. The secret would have to wait as darker matters pressed upon the night. Together, they ran towards the village, unaware that the revelations of the night would soon pale in comparison to the trials that lay ahead. In the heart of Isiama, confusion and panic had seized the night. Flames licked the edges of the western huts, casting an ominous glow over the village. Villagers scrambled, carrying buckets of water, their shouts mingling with the crackling fire. Amara and Kwame arrived breathless, their earlier conversation hanging unresolved in the tense air. "Fire! The granary is at risk!" an elder yelled over the tumult. Without hesitation, Kwame joined the men, forming a human chain to the river, passing buckets filled with water. Amara, with her heart pounding, coordinated the women and children, ensuring they were safe and away from the flames. Her mind raced with concern for her people and the unspoken words between her and Kwame. As the battle with the fire waged on, the prince's earlier admission lingered in Amara's mind. The promise of his secret, now overshadowed by the immediate danger, added a layer of urgency to her fears. What was so significant that it could alter the course of their lives? Hours passed, and the flames finally bowed to the efforts of the villagers. Weary but relieved, the people of Isiama began to assess the damage. Amidst the charred remains of the huts, a sense of resilience emerged, a testament to the spirit of the village. Kwame, covered in soot and sweat, approached Amara. His expression was grave, the night's events having etched a new depth in his eyes. "We need to talk," he said, his voice rough from smoke and fatigue. In the quiet away from the recovering village, they found solitude under the canopy of an ancient acacia tree, its branches a silhouette against the pre-dawn sky. "Amara, before the fire interrupted us, I was about to disclose something vital." During my time away, I learned of a prophecy that concerns my bloodline and the future of our kingdoms, Kwame began, his tone heavy with the weight of his words. A prophecy? Amara echoed, a ripple of apprehension coursing through her. Yes, it was revealed to me by a seer in the north. It speaks of a union between the north and the south, supposed to bring an era of unprecedented prosperity. But it comes with a warning of great peril if the union is not fulfilled. Amara absorbed his words, her mind racing with the implications. And our intended marriage, does it align with this prophecy? It does, but it's more complex than just our union. The peril is not specified, yet it is said to arise from within, fueled by betrayal and greed, he explained, his gaze never leaving hers. The gravity of the situation settled between them, a tangible force that seemed to draw them closer in their shared burden. The first light of dawn began to touch the sky, casting a soft glow that belied the tension of their conversation. Then we must be cautious and wise. We should consider all our moves carefully, Amara stated, her resolve hardening. Kwame nodded, his admiration for her evident. I knew I could trust you with this. Together, we'll navigate this prophecy and protect our people. Their pact sealed under the watchful eyes of the acacia, they returned to the village, united in purpose and strengthened by the challenges they were to face. As the sun rose, casting long shadows on the ground, Eziama stirred to life, unaware of the prophecy that now intertwined with its fate. The sun ascended high above Eziama, its rays dissolving the last traces of the night's ordeal. As the villagers repaired the damage, whispers of the fire's mysterious origin floated through the air, mingling with the dust and debris. Amara, with her heart heavy from the recent revelations, walked among her people, offering words of encouragement and helping hands. In the midst of reconstruction, a stranger draped in a faded blue robe entered the village. His presence was quiet, almost unnoticed among the bustle, but his eyes, sharp and observant, missed nothing. He made his way to where Kwame and Amara were overseeing the rebuilding efforts. Greetings, Prince Kwame, Princess Amara, the stranger said, bowing slightly. I am Jelani, a messenger from the northern kingdom of Sahel. I bear important news. Kwame's interest piqued. He gestured for Jelani to continue, his mind alert to any ties this might have to the prophecy. Your union has been eagerly awaited in Sahel, not just as a bond of love, but as a beacon of hope for prosperity and peace between our lands. However, not all share this vision. There are those who whisper against it, fearing the change it promises, Jelani disclosed, his voice low. Amara exchanged a troubled glance with Kwame. And what do these dissenters propose? She inquired, her voice steady despite the growing unease. They seek to sway the council against your union, to propose an alternative that keeps the kingdom separate, Jelani responded, his eyes scanning the area as if to ensure no unwanted ears were listening. The weight of this news bore down on Amara and Kwame, the possibility of their marriage becoming a pivot upon which the fate of two kingdoms swung was daunting. We appreciate your candor, Jelani. Your insight into these matters is invaluable to us, Kwame said, his mind racing with strategies to strengthen their position. Jelani nodded, acknowledging the prince's foresight. I will stay in Eziama for a few days, should you require further understanding of the dynamics at play in Sahel. As Jelani mingled with the villagers, sharing stories that bridged the gap between north and south, Amara pulled Kwame aside. We need to fortify our alliance, perhaps by visiting Sahel ourselves, to show our commitment and address the council directly. Kwame agreed. A wise suggestion. We'll plan a visit soon. Seeing us together, united and determined, might dispel some of their fears. The days passed, and the village slowly regained its former vitality. Amara and Kwame used this time to gather support, speaking to elders and influential figures, weaving a tapestry of alliance and mutual benefits. Their evenings were spent under the vast African sky, plotting their course to Sahel, their conversations a blend of hopeful plans and realistic challenges. As the planned visit approached, the air around Eziama thickened with anticipation. The couple knew that the success of their mission could herald a new era for both their lands. With every support beam raised in the village, their resolve strengthened, preparing them for the diplomatic endeavors ahead. On the morning of their departure, the air in Eziama was crisp, laced with the scent of blooming acacias. Villagers gathered, offering blessings and gifts of travel, woven baskets filled with dried fruits, nuts, and scrolls of goodwill. Amara and Kwame, adorned in vibrant robes that mirrored the earth and sky, embraced the warm farewells, their spirits buoyed by the community's support. The entourage that accompanied them was a blend of elders and young warriors, a symbol of the unity and strength they hoped to project in Sahel. The procession set out, the rhythmic thud of drums marking their exit from the village, a soundtrack to their mission of peace. The landscape changed as they traveled, from lush greenery to the more arid expanses typical of Sahel's outskirts. The transition was a silent reminder of the differences in life and culture between their homelands, differences they hoped to bridge with their union. Upon entering Sahel, they were greeted with a mix of curiosity and reserved hospitality. The air was drier, and the architecture shifted from the rounded huts of Eziama to flat-roofed structures that seemed to rise from the earth itself. At the heart of Sahel, the royal council awaited, their expressions unreadable. The council chamber was a vast room, its walls adorned with tapestries depicting the history of Sahel, battles won, seasons of bounty, and times of famine. Jelani, who had returned ahead of them to prepare the council, introduced Amara and Kwame. Esteemed leaders, I present to you Prince Kwame and Princess Amara, bearers of hope for our future. Kwame stepped forward, his voice firm. Honored members of the council, we come before you not just as heirs to our respective thrones, but as advocates for unity. Our lands, though diverse in landscape and custom, share the same sun, the same moon. Together, we can build a future that is prosperous for all. Amara then took the floor, her tone infused with sincerity. In Eziama, we value the harmony that comes from understanding. We wish to extend this harmony to Sahel through bonds of marriage and alliance. We believe our union can be a foundation upon which we build a bridge of mutual respect and shared prosperity. The council listened, their faces a mosaic of contemplation. After their presentations, a senior councillor, an elderly woman with eyes as sharp as flint, spoke. Your words carry weight and your proposal is bold. We will deliberate on this matter. Tomorrow we shall convey our decision. That night, under a blanket of stars, Amara and Kwame discussed their impressions of the council. Their hesitation is palpable, but I sensed openness in some of their eyes, Amara mused. Yes, the elder with the flinty gaze, she seemed particularly reflective. Perhaps our words reached her, Kwame replied, hopeful. The following day, the council reconvened. Tension filled the room as the senior councillor rose to speak. After careful consideration, we see the wisdom in your words. However, trust must be earned. We propose a trial, a period during which you will live among us, engage with our people, and share in our customs. Amara and Kwame exchanged a glance, understanding the challenge laid before them. Accepting the trial, they pledged to immerse themselves fully, aware that the success of their mission now hinged on their ability to truly unite two distinct worlds. The decision set a new phase into motion, one that would test their resolve and the very fabric of their aspirations. Amara and Kwame's days in Sahel began with the rising of the sun, which painted the vast sky in hues of amber and gold. Their commitment to understanding and integrating into the Sahelian way of life was evident in their diligent participation in daily activities, from tending to the communal fields under the scorching sun to learning the delicate art of pottery that the region was famed for. They endeavored to weave themselves into the fabric of the local community. The elders of Sahel, initially skeptical, gradually warmed to the couple as they shared meals and stories. Amara, with her keen interest in herbal lore, spent long hours with the village healers, gathering wild herbs and learning their uses. This not only broadened her knowledge, but also served as a bridge between her and the women of Sahel, who began to look upon her not as a foreign princess, but as a fellow custodian of their traditions. Kwame, on his part, joined the young men in their training with spears and shields, embracing the physical challenges with a vigor that earned him respect and camaraderie. His evenings were often spent with the council elders, where he listened more than he spoke, absorbing the history and politics of Sahel, which were as complex as the patterns woven into their vibrant textiles. As weeks turned into months, the couple's presence in Sahel became a familiar sight, and their initial efforts at diplomacy slowly bore fruit. The children of the village, who once eyed them with curiosity and shy reserve, now approached them with laughter and ease, often pulling them into games or to listen to tales under the shade of the baobab trees. One afternoon, as Amara walked through the marketplace, she overheard traders discussing the upcoming harvest festival, a significant event in Sahel's calendar. It was a celebration of bounty and community, and it struck her that this could be an opportune moment to further demonstrate their genuine engagement with the people of Sahel. That evening, under the vast canvas of the starlit sky, Amara shared her thoughts with Kwame. The Harvest Festival could be a perfect occasion for us to contribute something meaningful to the community, perhaps something that symbolizes the unity we wish to foster between our people. Kwame nodded in agreement, his thoughts aligning with hers. We could introduce a dance from Isiama, merge it with a Sahelian song. Music and dance are universal languages that could speak volumes of our intentions. Excited by the idea, they proposed it to the village elders the next day, who gave them their blessing with smiles that crinkled around their eyes. The preparation for the festival then took on a new layer of significance, as Amara and Kwame practiced the steps of the Isiama dance, blending them seamlessly with the rhythms and melodies of Sahel. As the festival day dawned, the air was thick with the aroma of roasting meats and sweet millet porridge. Stands decorated with fruits, vegetables, and flowers lined the village center, creating a kaleidoscope of colors and scents. When the time came for their performance, Amara and Kwame stood together, their attire a vibrant mix of Isiama and Sahelian styles. The drums began slow and steady, then quickening. The couple moved as one, their bodies telling a story of unity and shared destinies. The villagers gathered around, clapping and eventually joining in, their voices rising in a powerful chorus that seemed to reach the very heavens. As the night progressed, the festival became more than just a celebration of harvest. It turned into a symbol of potential new beginnings for Isiama and Sahel, fostered by the shared dance and the laughter that echoed under the Sahelian sky. With the success of the Harvest Festival still lingering in the air, the village of Sahel seemed to breathe a little easier around Amara and Kwame. The dance had woven a thread of camaraderie and shared joy through the hearts of all who participated, creating a fabric of trust thicker than before. This newfound bond prompted the village elders to invite the couple to participate in even more sacred traditions, which were typically reserved for their own kin. In the cool of the early mornings, Kwame would join the fishermen by the river, learning the art of casting nets and the patience of waiting for the catch. The river, a lifeline of Sahel, was where stories flowed as freely as the water, and it was here that Kwame heard tales of Sahel's ancestors, of battles fought and alliances formed. Each story, each laugh shared with his companions, tightened the stitches of his integration into the fabric of their community. Amara, with her passion for herbal medicine, was invited by the healers to join them in a sacred ceremony that celebrated the healing powers of the earth. The ceremony took place in a grove rich with the history of Sahel, surrounded by ancient trees that stood as silent witnesses to the wisdom passed down through generations. As Amara ground herbs and mixed potions, the healers, mostly women, began to treat her not just as a learner, but as one of their own. As these experiences deepened their roots in Sahelian soil, Amara and Kwame's evenings were spent in reflection. Sitting beneath the expansive sky, now a familiar canopy, they shared their daily experiences, weaving their individual learnings into a shared tapestry of understanding. It's remarkable, Amara mused one evening, how the simple act of sharing stories can bridge such vast distances between people. Kwame nodded, adding, "It's the stories, the music, the shared labor. They don't just pass time, but forge bonds. We're becoming a part of their narrative, just as they are becoming a part of ours." Their discussion was interrupted by the arrival of Jelani, who approached with a serious demeanor that suggested the weight of the message he carried. "The council has been observing your integration and is impressed by your genuine efforts. However, there's a concern rising among some factions within Sahel. They fear that blending our traditions might dilute our identity." This was a challenge they had anticipated, yet the reality of facing it head-on was daunting. Amara responded with a thoughtful tone. "Perhaps we can arrange a council where people express these fears. We could address them directly, reaffirming that our aim is to enrich, not dilute, the culture of Sahel with that of Isiama." Kwame agreed. "Transparency might indeed fortify trust. Let's propose this at the next council meeting." The following week was a flurry of preparations as they organized a community council. Villagers from all walks of life were invited to speak, to lay bare their concerns and hopes. When the day arrived, the air was tense with anticipation. Amara stood before the gathering, her voice calm and clear. "We are here to listen, to understand your concerns. We promise to honor the heart of Sahel's culture as we seek to intertwine our destinies. One by one, the villagers spoke. Some expressed fear, others curiosity, and a few even voiced excitement about the possibilities this union represented. Listening intently, Amara and Kwame addressed each point, ensuring every voice was heard and respected. As the meeting drew to a close, the elder with the flinty gaze, who had first spoken at their arrival, stood up. Her voice was steady as she addressed the crowd. Change is like the river. It is inevitable, but it is our duty to ensure that it nourishes rather than erodes. Let us move forward with cautious hearts but open minds. Her words, metaphorical and wise, resonated with the gathered crowd, bringing nods of agreement and thoughtful murmurs. As people dispersed, the atmosphere was not one of resolution, but of a doorway open to continued dialogue and deeper understanding. Under the Sahelian sky, the night closed in, a blanket of stars watching over them. The path ahead remained woven with challenges, but for now, the tides of trust had turned in their favor, promising a smoother passage as they continued to navigate the complexities of their union. As the seasons changed in Sahel, the air grew cooler, whispering of impending rains. This shift in weather mirrored the transformation within the village, where the currents of skepticism slowly turned towards cautious acceptance. Amara and Kwame's continued efforts to integrate and honor the traditions of both their cultures were gradually weaving a stronger, more colorful tapestry of unity. One crisp morning, the village awoke to the sounds of construction on the eastern field. Curious, the villagers gathered to see Kwame overseeing the building of what he described as a community pavilion, a place meant for gatherings, celebrations, and council meetings, embodying designs from both Eziama and Sahel. The structure was to have the rounded base typical of Eziama architecture and a flat, expansive roof like those seen in Sahel, symbolizing the sheltering sky that covered both their lands. Amara, meanwhile, had embarked on a project with the local weavers, creating a series of tapestries that depicted scenes from Sahelian and Eziama folklore, intertwined with motifs symbolizing unity and prosperity. These artworks were to adorn the new pavilion, serving as a visual reminder of their shared journey and intertwined futures. The project sparked interest and gradually, involvement from the community. Initially hesitant, the local craftsmen and artisans began to contribute their skills, intrigued by the fusion of styles and the symbolism it represented. As they worked side by side, stories were exchanged over the sounds of hammers and looms, laughter mingling with the rhythmic beats of construction. During this time, Amara took to visiting the homes of the villagers, accompanied by women who were elders and healers. These visits were not only a gesture of goodwill, but also an opportunity for her to deepen her understanding of the personal histories and values that shaped the community's identity. Each visit concluded with a small ceremony of thanks, where Amara shared herbs and spices from Eziama, which were received with a growing warmth. Kwame, for his part, continued to engage with the young men of Sahel, joining them in their training exercises and, on quieter evenings, sharing tales of Eziama's heroes and their legendary feats. These stories, often told under the vast Sahelian sky, did more than entertain. They bridged generations and geographies, knitting the young men to Kwame in a bond of mutual respect and fascination. As the pavilion neared completion, a grand celebration was planned to mark its opening. The event was to feature music, dance, and food from both cultures. Preparations were a whirlwind of activity, with everyone in the village contributing in some way. The aroma of cooking blended with the sound of tuning musical instruments, creating a symphony of anticipation. On the day of the celebration, the pavilion was a spectacle of unity. The tapestries hung proudly on the walls, each thread a testament to the collaborative spirit of the village. As the ceremonies commenced, Amara and Kwame led the opening dance, followed by performances from both Eziama and Sahel artists. The highlight of the day came when the elder with the flinty gaze took the floor. She spoke of the pavilion not just as a structure, but as a symbol of the potential for cultures to not only coexist, but flourish together. Let this pavilion stand as proof of what is possible when hearts are open and minds are willing to learn from each other, she declared, her voice carrying across the gathered crowd, instilling a sense of pride and hope. As the celebration continued into the night, the pavilion thrummed with the joyous beats of drums, the air filled with the melodies of unity. The project, which had started as a symbol of diplomacy, had blossomed into a beacon of communal harmony, echoing the rhythms of reconciliation under the watchful eyes of the stars. The night of the pavilion's opening extended into the early hours, with the village of Sahel alive with music, laughter, and the sense of shared feasts. It was a night that would be remembered for generations, marking the culmination of Amara and Kwame's efforts to bring together two cultures in harmony. As the festivities began to wind down, the stars still sparkling brightly above, there was a sense of contentment in the air, as if the village itself breathed a sigh of relief. In the days that followed, the pavilion became a bustling hub of activity. It hosted gatherings, debates, and celebrations, serving as a constant reminder of what could be achieved through unity. The elders who had once harbored doubts about the union now sat beneath its roof with ease, discussing matters of governance and community with a renewed sense of purpose. The youth, inspired by the stories and legends they had heard from Kwame, began to envision a future where their world was not confined by the borders of their village, but expanded through the ties they had forged. Amara continued to work closely with the healers, now not just as a learner, but as an equal. Together they compiled a compendium of herbal knowledge, blending the wisdom of both Isiama and Sahel. This collaboration was more than just the sharing of medicinal practices. It was a merging of perspectives, one that would benefit future generations. The women of Sahel, who had once regarded Amara with curiosity, now welcomed her as one of their own, their bond solidified by shared experiences and mutual respect. Kwame's role among the men of Sahel also evolved. No longer just an outsider or a prince from a distant land, he was now a brother, a leader who had proven himself through action and understanding. The warriors and hunters began to see him as a symbol of strength that was not solely physical, but rooted in wisdom and the ability to lead with empathy. One evening, as Amara and Kwame walked through the fields just outside the village, they paused to take in the view. The pavilion, now a centerpiece of Sahel, stood tall against the horizon, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. The landscape, once marked by divisions, now seemed to pulse with a new energy, one of shared dreams and possibilities. "This land has changed us," Kwame said quietly, his voice filled with reflection. "But more importantly, we've helped change it." Amara nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "We've planted seeds here, not just in the earth, but in the hearts of the people, and those seeds will grow long after we're gone." As they continued to walk, they were joined by villagers who had also come to enjoy the evening breeze. The group walked together, a mix of young and old, their steps in rhythm with the land they now called home. In the weeks that followed, preparations began for Kwame and Amara's return to Isiama. The time had come to fulfill the next part of their destiny, to unite their people not just in spirit, but in governance, to bring what they had learned in Sahel back to their own land. The farewell was bittersweet. The people of Sahel gathered at the pavilion, offering gifts and blessings for the road ahead. The elder with the flinty gaze, who had become a mentor to both Amara and Kwame, presented them with a carved staff, a symbol of leadership and the wisdom they had acquired. "May this staff guide you as you continue to lead with strength and compassion," she said, her voice steady, though her eyes shone with emotion. Amara and Kwame accepted the gift with deep gratitude, knowing that their journey, though far from over, had already left an indelible mark on their souls. As they departed Sahel, the sun rising behind them, they carried with them not just the memories of the people they had come to love, but the lessons of unity and resilience. The road ahead was long, but they faced it with the confidence that they had forged something truly lasting, something that would endure the tests of time. Their return to Isiama was met with great celebration, and the people, hearing of their accomplishments in Sahel, welcomed them with open arms. The stories of their time in Sahel spread quickly, inspiring hope and a renewed sense of purpose among their own people. Amara and Kwame knew that their work was just beginning, but they also knew that they were not alone. The bonds they had created, the relationships they had nurtured, would continue to grow and strengthen, creating a legacy that would span generations. Under the bright African sky, they stood together, ready to face whatever the future held, their hearts united in love and purpose. And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, it heralded not just a new day, but the dawn of a new era for both Isiama and Sahel.